In this video, our SAP Analytics Cloud product experts will demonstrate the main features of our new release. Feel free to jump straight to the features you're interested in by using the timestamps in the description below. Let's dive in and hear from our SAP Analytics Cloud product experts.
Hello, in this video I would like to highlight one new admin card which is called Welcome Custom Card. This card can be used for administrator to inform their users in SAC about any information they want, for example, of upcoming enablement sessions, of internal training that needs to be done, of future update on the system, any information that they would like to inform or transfer. This can be done with the custom card. Let me show you how you can create it. As an administrator in SAC, I need to redirect myself to the system and then administrations, and then under the default appearance there would be a new option called Add Custom Card. By pressing Add Custom Card, I will have this wizard. It's split it in two parts. Here the first part where I can pass my text. Let's for example take text here which I prepared. For example, here I want to inform the user about what's new in SAP Analytics Cloud for Q1 QSC. Here I pass my text. Of course, it's a text editor. I can change the font, I can change the size, and also different options are available here, the color and everything that text editor is offering. I can also pass some hyperlink for whether internal or external link, and I can see right away how my card will look like. It's a card preview. Next, I would love also optionally to add an image to this card. With this option I can press upload image, and I prepared this small image here. I will select it, and here we go. Always the image come to the top, and the text it's below the image. Afterwards, I can also choose the tag type. What kind of tag that I would like to add for this card, whether it's about information, whether it's a positive message, a critical, negative, or neutral one. As it's an information, I would choose information here, and then also I can change the tag here and just write updates. And the last option or the last step, again, is optional that administrator can do. It's lock the card on the home page. Locking the card, here we will see a new icon, which is a lock icon. Means the SAC users, once this card is created by their admins, this card cannot be hidden and also cannot be moved. This card will be fixed, and I will show you in which position in the home page. Only the administrator who has the privilege to create this card and to lock the card for the users. To resume, here we have the text editor. We can upload an image and selecting the tag type and also locking the card. Afterwards, I will press save, and then let me go back to the home page, and here we go. We can see our new custom card. It's fixed on the left top of the home page, of course, with the possibility of resizing the card. And here we go. We have our custom card where I'm informing the user about what's new in SAP Analytics Cloud. Thank you so much. Hello. To provide users like SAC administrator with actionable system health insight and optimization recommendation directly on the SAC homepage, we are happy to introduce a new card in the SAC homepage called Administrative Tasks card, which will serve as a summary of critical recommendations, saving time spent on root cause analysis and also enabling proactive system housekeeping activity. This card should be visible only to users with admin and story designer role. Let's explore more this administrative action card. So this administrative action card is containing different insights, like for example in our case for this tenant, classic story which
needs conversion as part of the duplication process. By expanding the list, I can see all the story available in this tenant which require conversion to the new story or to the optimized story experience. By clicking, for example, to one of the story, so then we will trigger the SAC story conversion tool, and then by selecting the story and clicking next, so then the conversion will start right away. This is one example. I can also redirect myself or open the story conversion tool by clicking this button here. Let's also explore the second insight, or the second topic here, the open story. Here I can see all the stories which took more than 60 seconds to execute, or I mean to open. Here I see all the list of the stories. First, I can open the performance analysis tool to see all the story list, but also I can open specific story. For example, if I click the first story, so then I will be redirected to the performance analysis tool to analyze further and to have more information about the story. I see here the 3 times where the story was opened, with the date, time, and also the run time, how many seconds the story needed to be opened. And of course, if I click one of this entry, I will be redirected to even more details to analyze more why the story took that much time to be executed or to be opened. So let me go back to the homepage to explore the last topic here, or the last insight is the log on here. The same, all the log on that took more than 60 seconds also to be open. I can open the log on statistic, means opening the system overview exactly with the log on statistic, but also I can open and choose one of the available story, and then I will be redirected to the performance statistic and analysis, and I can here see more detail, and I can check why I have this problem, and I can analyze further. So to resume, this is again will be available only for the admin together with the system monitor card. Thank you so much.
Hello. To empower system administrator with a single comprehensive view of system health in the SAC tenant, I'm happy today to introduce the new admin system monitor card within the SAC homepage. The system monitor card is covering critical metrics such as the license information as the first information that we expose in the card, where we can see all the information and the housekeeping detail of the license in each SAC tenant. For example, here we see the different license type available, the number of the log on, the number of inactive user for the past 6 months, the assigned license, and also the limit for every license type. Of course, you can redirect yourself, or you can go to the system overview story in order to see more detail. For the second metric that we choose to expose is the content information. Also, is housekeeping detail for the last 6 months, where we expose and we show the in-used artifacts. For example, here we see that we have 484 analytics model, which was not in use for this SSE tenant. We have 206 parent model, and so on for different artifact like dataset, story, application. And this information, it's really helping to free up space first, and also to reduce maintenance effort and total cost of the ownership. The last metric is the legacy content users information, which we think is really important for the customer. Usually right now, with the deprecation of the classic stack, here in this metric, we are exposing the total accessed percentage of the classic story, classic analytics application, and also classic story based in the OVM. So this card, by surfacing this insight, it's proactively. So the admin overview or the system overview card will help the customer to reduce the total cost of ownership, strengthen security, improve content maintenance, and also promote best practices across the SAC landscape. This card will be visible only to users with admin or BI admin roles. And also, as I said, is designed as a high-level actionable snapshot of system health. Still, the system overview story, still the reference, and the place where the admin can have very detailed information and where they can find detailed information about the SAC tenant activity. Thank you so much.
Hello, in this video I would like to present also a new feature in my metrics, which is subscribing to a metric report. The idea of this feature is really simple. So it's about keeping an eye on the performance of the metrics, which is really essential, but to check it manually every day, that can be really time consuming. With scheduling metric reports in my metrics, so you can stay informed without an extra effort. I will show you now how you can easily create metric reports per metric list. First of all, you need to redirect yourself to my metrics and then select the metrics list that you would like to enable or activate the report generation. And then from the three dots here, the context menu, there will be a new option called subscribe to metrics report. By clicking this option, you will have this wizard, which is split in three parts. The first one, where you can give a name. For example, here I will give a name my sales report. Of course, you can also give it a description, and this is highly recommended to give a description to every subscription, because to avoid in the future when users, of course, with the right roles and privilege, when they will create different subscriptions, it's really recommended to have description in order to identify later on the report, and can be really easy to manage different subscriptions. So the next step will be scheduling. Here we have three different recurrence patterns that we can choose in between, whether daily, weekly, or monthly. Here we can also select the start date of the first occurrence, the end recurrence date, and also when the end of this report generation or of this subscriptions. Later on, as the next step, there will be the distribution list step. So here you can select with whom you want to distribute this report, whether per user or also per teams. And you can also choose optionally to send this email notification per email. After setting up the different steps, the name, description, scheduling, and also distribution list, so users, they have to press save, and then the subscription is created. I already created one subscription, and I would like to show you how you can be notified within SAC. It will be from the notification center. There will be here an option, notification every time there is some data changes in your metric list. For example, here by opening one example, I see that here my sales metrics, I have only one of my metrics get some data changes, which is total expenses. Here you see the latest value, changes in value, and also the previous value with also the latest variance. I see that I got a decrease of 6.27% of my total expenses metric. Here we get notified only of the metrics that got data changes. For example, in my case, here in my metric list, I have 7 metrics, but only this metrics get some data changes, so then I will see only this metric in this table. The second way also of being notified is the email. Here we can see one template here that I received. Lately, this is my metric list name, the subscription name. Also here we see some information regarding the recurrence pattern, which is every day, start date, and also end date. And here we have like a table which is grouping all the metrics that got data changes with the same, of course, different information about the latest value, change in value, and also the latest variance. Of course, from the email, you can also click open my metrics, and then you will be redirected to the exact metric list, and then you can have more detail about those changes. Let's go back now to my metrics, and I would like to highlight the last part, which is manage subscription. So after I create my subscription, I will be able also to manage my subscription by selecting my subscription. I can press edit, and then here I can edit my subscription by, for example, I want to change the recurrence day, which is, for example, here set per day. I want to change it per week, for example. Or also, I would like to distribute this metric report to additional users or team, or also modifying the distribution list. This is one option. I can also mute my subscription for the moment until, for example, a selected day. Or also I can mute all the scheduled report, means the users won't be notified, or means the distribution list that I already set, they won't get notified anymore because I choose to mute this subscription until a specific date. So another option, which is deleting or also copying duplicating the same subscription already available. Of course, I can here filter by active subscriptions or all the subscription. So with that, I would like to thank you so much.
Hello, my name is Bettina Denonville. I'm Product Manager for Data Analyzer and will present you the new innovations as part of the QRCQ1 release. The information panel has been redesigned and is now accessible through the side navigation bar next to the Builder and Styling panel, and the following information has been added. The name and description of the underlying model, the name and description of the connection, in case of SAP DataSphere model, the name and description of the face, and in case of SAP BW model, the query key date, and the static filter definition defined in your BW query is now shown as a global filter. Simple styling options are now available to configure the visual design of your chart presentation. The styling panel offers you configuration options for the legend, the axis title, the axis label, and the data label. The restrict function has been added to the calculation editor, which allows you to create new restricted measures or counts on the fly. The function returns a numerical value restricted to a measure or count, member, and a list of dimension members. Finally, for SAP BW Live Connection, a new table property setting is added to the styling panel to allow you to show the values of measures that have mixed units and currencies in addition to the asterisks. Now I'm going to jump to the live demo. Here in the side navigation bar, you'll find a new eye icon where you can open this new information panel. You see the information panel is categorized by general information, global filters, which only applies in case of BW Live queries, and the more technical details. Under the general section, you'll find the information about the insight, the name and the description. And in case the insight is pinned to a story, you'll find a hyperlink to this story also here. The model name and description, the BW query key date, as well as the last data update. The global filters shows you the static filter as defined in your BW Live query, and the technical details are the information about the query, the information provider, and the connection. Dependent of your selected chart, you'll find the individual styling options here under the chart properties. You can basically show or hide the legend, and you can choose the position of the legend as well as the alignment. The different label types you find here in the drop-down box where you configure whether you want to see them. And you can choose the axis label direction. The same for the axis title. You can show or hide them, and the same for the data label. The settings differ slightly dependent of your selected chart, but basically we reduce the scope to the very simple styling options as the focus here in Analyzer is data exploration. From now on, you can create restricted measures on the fly in Data Analyzer. To do so, you open the calculation editor and you'll find this new lookup and reference function here called restrict. I pick it directly from the editor. As first parameter, I pick the measure I want to filter, revenue by product group. So I filter on dimension product group, and with control space, it opens the dimension member selector where I can easily pick a member. I give it a name. And I do the same as I'm also looking for revenue for product group 2. Here in the function help, you'll find some explanation about the syntax of the formula. And here in the example, you see that you can restrict a measure also to multiple different dimension members by using the AND operator. Perfect. Now I created these two key figures, can remove the revenue, and I change the drill down as I want to do a deep dive into revenue of group 1 and 2 by sales market. With that, you see that this feature offers the end user a lot of more ad hoc data exploration capabilities. Finally, I want to present you how to show values for measures with mixed units or currencies. This data model has data with mixed currencies. Dependent on the customer, the amount is in euro or in dollar. As a result, the totals are shown the asterisk. With the new setting available under the table properties, you can tick the box and you see the average value of this measure. The same happens in case of any other aggregation. In this case, I remove customer from the drill, and you still see the average value of the amount, even though it has different currencies. That's it from my side for today. Thank you very much for your attention.
To create a connection to Snowflake, we go to Connections and Add Connection. If we filter for live options, we can see here that Google BigQuery and Snowflake are available as connection types that we can create. Here you can add the connection information to the Snowflake database, such as account, username, private key, and the database name. Let's use one I created earlier. Back to the home page and we navigate to the modeler. We use live storage and we can see Snowflake. We select our connection and we can see that this particular connection only supports live data. We can then select the table that we want, and in this case we're going to select the national parks data, and then I click create and we can save the new model. We now have an external version connected directly to Snowflake.
Hi, my name is Max Gander and I'm a product manager for SAP Analytics Cloud Planning and Modeling. Today I'm showing you 2 new features to streamline and simplify the work with dimension tables in SAP Analytics Cloud models, so that is reusing and replacing SAP Analytics Cloud dimensions. First of all, reuse refers to the fact that you can now reference the same public dimension table multiple times within a model. So you can have multiple dimensions within a model that all use the same master data table. Think of examples like sending and receiving cost center dimensions, or the infamous airport from, airport to example for such a use case. You can in the future also replace public dimension tables with other public dimension tables. Most functionality built on top of the model shall still work the same way as before, as we will see in a demo in a minute. And you can also replace local dimension tables with a public dimension table, or you can attach a public dimension table to a dimension without master data, even after the model was initially saved with that dimension without master data. We are now looking at an example model where we find 3 cost center dimensions, primary cost center, a sending and receiving cost center, and we see they all refer to the same cost center public dimension table in the background. We have built content on top of this model, for instance an advanced formula to allocate costs to receiving cost centers. And we see it is working, of course. And now when we go back into the model and we replace one of the dimension tables by another one with the same structure, and then we save the model, after of course reviewing the warning that we present the user. We can validate our advanced formula script and see it is still valid. And we can also run the data action again. And we see that it still works.
Hi, for this quarter, we have 3 new Compass enhancements for you. The first improvement will allow users to create simulation directly of dashboards which have complex filters applied, which will bring more flexibility for story designers. The second enhancement enables users to simulate using price or discounts or any driver which is set up using the average exception aggregation. The third improvement allows the changing of simulation target settings at any point in time, but with the ability to retain the driver settings and assumptions modeled. This was done to enhance the simulation workflow for those intending to explore the impact of the same assumption on different targets. I will show a simple weekly sales plan dashboard, which has some complex filters applied, such as the time range filter or the attribute filter. In this table, we can see how the total sales is calculated, taking the price, discounts, and units sold into consideration. Now you can see that for price or discount, the value is not summed up across the weeks, but an average of all weeks, excluding those with no values. I'm now interested in how fluctuations in these key drivers here will impact my total sales. Therefore, I will create a Compass simulation. With our first enhancement for Q1, you can see that despite having complex filters in my dashboard, I'm able to jump directly into Compass to create a simulation. You can also see that all drivers for my total sales are automatically detected. Before Q1, drivers such as discounts and price were not available for simulation, as they were using the average aggregation. But with our second enhancement for Q1, You can see that all these drivers are supported, and I can go straight ahead to simulate the expected fluctuations for them. Do note that we're currently supporting only average including unbooked or average excluding null. Now, if after the simulation you would like to explore the impact on another KPI, you can directly change the simulation settings. Let's say you would like to explore the impact now on discounted sales instead of total sales. Before Q1, you will have to remove the created scenario to do so, as you will be changing the simulation calculation. But with our third enhancement in Q1, you can go straight ahead and apply the changes in the simulation target settings. The previous simulation result will be discarded, but your driver settings will remain. You can directly simulate the effects of the same driver setups if you want to, or change them to model new assumptions. This allows for a more flexible workflow and more convenience when simulating the same driver effects on different targets. Thank you for watching.
Hi, my name is Scott Godfrey, and I'm one of the product managers with SAP Analytics Cloud focused on planning. And today I'm going to walk you through a couple of the new enhancements we have coming as part of our Q1 2026 QRC release. I'm going to start with an improvement we have to advanced formulas, and that's the ability now to leverage the link function where we have a source and a target model with different date granularities. So now, rather than relying only on the cross-model copy scenario, you'll be able to do this with the advanced formulas. You can aggregate data from, let's say, a daily or weekly model to a periodic or monthly model. So this would be a typical scenario if you have, let's say, a sales model that might be daily or weekly. You want to aggregate that to a monthly model for P&L reporting. Conversely, you can also copy data from a model with a higher granularity to a model with a more detailed granularity. So with that, let's jump over and see this in action. So in my example, I have two models. The source model has the date granularity. So the matching is going to be off the key for the date. The target model, which by the way, I'm using a fiscal shift starting in February. And you'll see that, in fact, the dates for the fiscal periods are what are going to be used to do the mapping and determine where the value should go. If I look at my script, I'm going to iterate over set the member set for the base members of 2026 in the source model. I am linking based on the date dimension from the source to the corresponding period in which that date falls in the target. And then, of course, I'm multiplying the amount in the source times the quantity in the source. Looking at my story, I have February 2nd and to March 1st. Those are actually going to fall in period 1. And March 2nd is actually the start of period 2. All right, so when I run this, I expect to see the 20,328 in period 2 and the sum of the other amounts in period 1. And in fact, that's what I see. So again, this is the link function with different date granularities as part of our Q1 2026 QRC release.
Hello, this is Derek Johnson. I'm a product manager for SAP Analytics Cloud. With this feature, what we're going to do is we're going to bundle a new feature that we're releasing that'll generate data action descriptions, and then we'll take a look at that in detail with our AI-assisted advanced formulas that we've previously released. So that will be for generating scripts and script documentation. So let's take a look at this and see how it works. So now we're going to look at our data action that we're going to use to showcase this feature. So you're going to have your role enabled to look at these AI-assisted features and also sign up for those features well in our Discovery Center. So we have our data action, and now we can generate a description. So it's going to be looking at our steps that we've created and using AI to generate this description. So here it'll generate the description. If we wanted to, we could edit the description as well. And if we want to change the prompt or give an additional hint here, we can. So in this example, we're simply going to ask the system to use AI to translate the language into Spanish. So with this feature, it's going to make generating descriptions an easier task to do, which should benefit everyone. Thank you.
With our Q1 2026 QRC release, we're introducing a dedicated fact deletion step within the data actions. So previously we'd have to use an advanced formula step if you wanted to purge records or set them to 0. Now we have a dedicated step that will allow you to do that. It will allow you to delete specific facts based on the filters, delete zeros from facts, or set existing facts to 0 value. So this of course provides additional flexibility and simplicity as opposed to always trying to process these data management type steps via an advanced formula. So with that, let's jump over and see this in action. So in this data action, I've created 2 steps using this fact delete capability. The first step will actually delete the individual records that are filtered. So you'll see in the options setting, I have delete facts. I also have other additional options for delete zeros from facts and set facts to 0. And for the second step, what I've done is set the unassigned product member, those data points to 0. So if we just jump over and look at my data, you'll see that I have data for the total products, all products, as well as the unassigned. I'm going to purge the data for the total, and I'm going to set the records to the unassigned to 0. So this is the fact deletion step within data actions as part of our Q1 2026 QRC release. With our Q1 2026 QRC release, we're introducing a new execution mode for data actions that can be set on the data action starter. This synchronous execution mode is really meant for short-running data actions where the pending time for the data action often represents a significant portion of the overall runtime. Now, what's important about these is they bypass the work queues, which is where we perform certain checks, such as sequence processing, to ensure that a given user is only running a single data action at a time, and that we don't have data being processed out of order. The gain from not performing those checks is essentially that we can recoup the time the data action would normally spend in a pending state. And you may see additional minor improvements elsewhere in individual steps within the data action. What's critical here is that you really should only enable these on short-running data actions, less than 10 seconds, and again, where the pending time represents a significant portion of the overall typical runtime. If you try to set this on a longer data action, say over 30 seconds, you increase the likelihood of runtime errors during the data action execution, or you're likely to see a timeout condition. So with that, let's jump over and see this in action. So I have a short running data action here that's really just meant to copy some records. We'll look on the trigger and you'll notice that I'm going to start by running this in the traditional mode, so non-synchronous. I'll run my data action. Now what I'm going to do is toggle back on that synchronous mode setting, and I'll run it a second time, and then we'll take a look in the job monitor. So if we flip over to the job monitor, we refresh, we'll see 2 executions of the same job. One is running for 2.5 seconds, the other 1.3 seconds. The first job has 1.1 seconds of pending time. That was the first run. The second run, I have no pending time, and the preparation time is also slightly reduced. So in this instance, I essentially cut the runtime in half. So again, this is the synchronous execution mode for data actions as part of our Q1 2026 release.
Hi everyone. Today I'm giving you a quick overview of our new feature, version publish visibility in the job monitor. Let's start with the problem we set out to solve. In SAP Analytics Cloud, large version publishes often run asynchronously. Users can continue working, which is great, but there was a major gap. As soon as they left the page, they couldn't see what happened to the publish. They didn't know if it was finished, whether it was succeeded, or if it might have failed. To fix this, we now surface version publish operations directly in the job monitor. Now, where is this available? Publishes triggered from stories, analytical applications, and the calendar are all included. Permissions are simple. A user can see the job if they have read or manage rights for job monitor administration, or if they are the one who triggered the publish. It's also important to understand how asynchronous behavior is determined. This isn't decided by the UI. The backend automatically checks 2 factors: the number of rows in the version or planning area and the number of meshes. Based on those, the system decides whether the publish runs asynchronously or synchronously. So what does the user experience look like? When a publish runs asynchronously, the UI shows a toast message with a direct link to the job monitor. In the job monitor, users see source and target versions, validation details, changed or deleted rows counts, and, in case of failure, the validation rule and sample invalid data. Users can filter the list and they can cancel a running publish if they triggered it or have admin permissions. And that's the new version publish integration with the job monitor, bringing clarity, control, and smoother support to version publish. Thanks for watching. Hi everyone. In QRC1 2026, SAP Analytics Cloud introduces a new scripting event for stories called onBeforeImport. This event is available in the data upload starter and lets developers run script logic before an Excel or CSV file is uploaded. It can be used to validate or adjust the file's content to ensure it matches expected formats before the upload continues. This gives story developers a straightforward way to check data early in the process and handle potential issues more efficiently. Thanks for watching.
Hello, it's Derek from Product Management. In this session, we're going to be looking at the new table setting to show invalid booked data only. So this is important when you're in a planning session and you just want to see where there's invalid booked data. And there's a number of reasons that this can occur. So we've added a new table setting in the Builder panel to allow you to easily view these entries. So let's take a look. For this example, we've set up a model and we've created our validation rules. So this is going to be what rules that we have are active. And here you can see we've activated the rule. And in this case, we have two products, and one of which we'll say is valid, and the other one will be invalid for this particular entity. Let's take a look at the report. So it's a pretty simple case here where we have our two products. One is invalid, and you can see the indication here. But if we had a large table and we would like to view these records or where this situation occurs, we can go into the Builder panel for the table. And then we have the selection here when you have your data security set to validation rules to see the show invalid book data only. So when I do that, we can see our invalid record where there's booked values versus the showing the booked and unbooked value. That concludes this demonstration. Thank you.
Let's review the latest feature in the Microsoft Excel Office integration part. We have introduced a really nice feature providing customers the capability to filter or exclude directly in the grid a member that is selected. It can be multiple selections from one or different dimension and measure. And once this is applied, the result is automatically visible for the user. We have also introduced a new filtering capabilities based on different operators, as you can see on my screen here. And with this capability, it's easy to filter directly also from the grid, pointing on a specific cell, defining the context of the filtering, and then defining on this menu a specific condition for the filter. Then the filter is applied on the table. Next, we do support now this concept of two structures in a query, which is now surfaced and visible in Excel and can be selected as any dimension or measure in a report. Let's see a demo now of these features. So here, let's illustrate the filter on contextual menu. So when you select a member on a dimension here, I can do a right click and then you see this new menu. Here we see the SAC, it will be the SAC menu where we can directly filter members. So I will filter only on green colors. And you see that I am retrieving only this data. If I open the designer panel now, I can verify that a new filter has been applied on the color dimension in this case. If we switch to the next example that I have put here, I have already used the exclude capability based on the same green color. So here, just again to show the menu, so accessible from this contextual menu, you have the exclude member, and this is reflected here in the filter panel. And we don't see, of course, the member containing the green color. Let's see now the new filter on data, which is now available from a specific menu on the ribbon. So from this menu, I can filter a specific value, and this value is directly from my report. So here, the context on my filter, it's automatically visible on the menu, and then I will filter on the amount. From here, I get different operators that I can use to filter my report based on this operator. For my example here, I will select the greater than, because in my report I had negative values, so I can select greater than 0, and then the filter is automatically applied on the report. So we don't have any more negative values. If I open the designer panel again, this filter is visible, and we can also click on the definition of the filter if we want to change what has been set initially. So it's really easy to change it. It's also really easy to remove it directly from the report. That's all for the news on the Excel add-in part. Thanks for watching.
Hello, welcome to What's New video for Q1 2026. Here we will be covering two topics. One is story versioning, the second is new chart types. Let's go to feature 1, that is story versioning. Now SAC allows you to create file version for your SAC stories. It allows you to also review and restore and delete the file versions. Now let's look at the procedure for how to create a file version. For this, you have to enter into the edit mode of a story. Once you are in the edit mode, under save, you have an option to save the story as a new version. At any given point in time, SAC allows the users to create up to 10 versions for a story. If the user wants to create additional versions, then they will have to delete the previous versions. To view a version, there are two ways to view a version. First, when you are in the story edit mode. So in the story edit mode, you can click on file versions, and this will show you all the versions that are created against this story. The other way is to access the file versions via the files module or the folder structure. For this, let's navigate to the folder structure. So here I am in the folder. I can select the story and click on the file versions. Now this will give you the list of all the versions that has been created against the story. Here the user has an option to either open or delete the version. The user will also get a summary of who created it, when it was changed, and a brief summary of what were the changes made. Once the user clicks on open, the version is opened in a read-only mode. Here again, the user has an option to either restore this as your main version, delete the version. Now, if the user clicks on restore the version that you have opened as the main version, then the current version becomes the second version. Now, let's look at the feature number 2, that is the new chart types. Here, as part of Q1 2026, we have introduced two additional chart types, the area chart and Pareto chart. The area chart helps users to visualize the quantitative data changes over a continuous variable, which is mostly time. This helps users to understand the magnitude and volume of the change, and at the same time also understand the trend and patterns. The second chart we have introduced is Pareto chart, which helps users to visualize the factors which contribute most in a graphical format. It helps to identify and prioritize the most significant contributing factors, and it also gives you a y-axis which shows the percentage contribution. Now let's look at a demo of each of these charts together. So here are the two new chart types that we have introduced. One is the area chart and one is the Pareto chart. Now in area chart, as explained earlier, the area chart helps user to understand the magnitude of a series. It helps to identify the trend and changes over time. The second chart we have introduced is Pareto chart. Pareto chart helps to visualize the important contributors towards a measure. Now, there are three important building blocks for a Pareto chart. One is the sorted running total calculation. Second is exception aggregation calculation. And third is calculated dimensions for ranking support. Due to this, the Pareto chart can only be created on models based on an up-to-date HANA system. Pareto charts cannot be created on models based on SAP BW or SAP S/4HANA.
Welcome to this SAP Analytics Cloud update. In this video, we'll walk you through a new table feature, support of increase and decrease sign. Tables now support visual increase and decrease indicators, making trends in your data immediately visible. From the story and table front end, you can enable up or down arrows in the number formatting settings under calculation styling options. This highlights positive and negative movements consistently across the table. This feature supports accounts, base measures, front-end calculations, and story calculations, providing a seamless experience across your data. It's available in the optimized experience, and the show sign option is also accessible directly from the Thresholds tooltip. Let's see how this works in a live demo. In design mode, start by selecting your table, and then focus on the data region. From there, open the styling panel for your selection. As you scroll down to the number format section, you'll find a new option under Show Sign As. You can also choose where the sign appears, either on the left or on the right of the value, giving you full control over the look and feel of your table. The visual increase and decrease indicators can also be used for the client calculations. It is accessible via the Edit Formatting options from the Client's Calculations panel. This is the end of the demo. Thanks for watching. Welcome to this SAP Analytics Cloud update. In this video, we'll walk you through a new table feature, support of a compact display for tables for live BW. We've introduced a compact display option for live BW tables, helping you make better use of screen space while keeping complex data structures easy to navigate. In the Table Builder panel, the new compact display option is available in the three-dot menu on the row or column axis. This groups dimensions and measures into a single row or column, with the ability to expand or collapse as needed. Compacted dimensions and measures are clearly listed in the row or column header, while display attributes remain unaffected, appearing as separate rows and columns. The option is disabled when it's not applicable, such as when only measures are present or no dimensions or measures are assigned. Let's see how this works in a live demo. In the first table, the compact display feature is disabled. Dimensions and measures on the column axis are displayed individually, and the same applies to the dimensions on the row axis. In contrast, the second table shows the compact display enabled on both axes. To enable compact display, in the Builder panel in Edit mode, simply open the three-dot menu on the rows axis and turn the option on. The effect is immediate. On the rows axis, dimensions are grouped into a single, compact node, which you can easily expand to explore the underlying details. The same approach applies to the columns axis. Once compact display is enabled, dimensions and measures are automatically compacted, creating a concise table layout. This is the end of the demo. Thanks for watching. Welcome to this SAP Analytics Cloud update. In this video, we'll walk you through a new table feature, support for a custom order on a dimension used in a blended table. We've extended support for custom dimension ordering to blended tables, giving you greater control over how your data is presented. You can now reuse existing custom orders previously defined on the same dimension in non-blended widgets, ensuring consistent sorting across different visualizations. The Select Custom Order option is accessible directly from the Table Header context menu, making it easy to apply and manage custom sorting where it matters most. Available custom orders are clearly listed and can be applied seamlessly to blended tables, helping you maintain meaningful and business-relevant ordering without the need to redefine it each time. Let's take a closer look in a short demo. Here, we start with a non-blended table. On the dimension state, you can see that 2 custom orders have already been created and are available. Let's apply custom order 1. The table is immediately sorted accordingly. Now, when we switch to a blended table and ensure that we're using the state dimension from the same underlying model, we can access the sort menu. You'll notice that the same 2 previously created custom orders are available here as well. When we apply custom order 1, the blended table follows exactly the same sorting as the non-blended table. This ensures consistency and meaningful ordering across both blended and non-blended tables. This is the end of the demo. Thanks for watching.
Hello everyone, my name is Jiedan. Here I would like to show you the highlight for the QRC1 release in the story extensibility capability. The first capability is the quick builder for table widget in story view time. We deliver a quick builder to enable light-weighted data exploration within stories that will provide a completely new user interface, delivering a distinct and improved experience for end users. You can see like here. And the story designer can enable this quick builder and per table. Quick builder is a successor for current navigation panel and provides additional capabilities like deselect all function, and also quick builder can be enabled via context menu and in addition to the script APIs. Please keep in mind, upon switching a table widget to the new experience, the navigation panel is seamlessly replaced by the quick builder in the QRC1 release, requiring no manual conversion or migration effort. All new stories created with the QRC1 release using the new experience will automatically leverage the quick builder. Now let's have a look into the tenant. I'm already created a story with the QRC1 releases, and within story and automatically the quick builder will be leveraged. And this quick builder can be enabled via context menu for end user. Like if I click here, click on open quick builder, I will be able to see this quick builder. And in this quick builder, you see actually in the table type is a cross tab, and in the rows and the columns, you can configure it. For example, for the rows here, I can basically add into additional dimensions like here add. I would like to add also division into the table. You see, I have been able already add the division in the table. And for each dimensions, you hear the options to identify the display options. And we can also, okay, this total should be showed also for the division. And you can also identify also to set the visible properties for these dimensions. And all other dimensions, if you click on here, you are able to actually identify these totals should be showed on top or show the bottom. Now I set on the top, and now we for the BW based queries or models, and we also enable the compact display. If I click on the compact display, you can see that all the dimensions are displayed as a hierarchical way. And first I have the product, and then I have here the region, and then I have the distribution channel, and at the end I have the division here. You see, you can enable and also display the compact display. And for these totals, arrange totals and the parent nodes, you can define individually. The arrange totals should be top on the, or for example, arrange parent nodes should be on the below. And for this column area, and currently all the dimensions and all the key figures are selected. So if I want to do a deselect, that is enabled additional capability comparing to the navigation panel. And we can see that, and you can deselect all the measures, and then only select the measures you want to see here. Then we only select basically these 3 measures. You can see here, compact display for these 4 dimensions, and these 3 actually and key figure are displayed. And you can also close this build panel like here. As I mentioned, this build panel can be either and directly opened via context menu, or it still works with the script API. You can use a button, and behind the button is a script API to open the quick builder, and you can also close that. So via these quick builder capabilities, you will be in the story runtime very convenient to configure your table, adding and also measures dimensions in the rows and columns. And for the cross tab, you can also switch rows and columns here. So via that, you as a story viewer, and you have a great flexibility within the story to configure table to see the relevant dimension and the key figures. Thank you. In composite area, we also have different enhancements. So first enhancement is that we are allowing optional arguments in composite interface functions. So now we allow you define an optional arguments. So these optional arguments will help you to maintain backward compatibility when new arguments are added. For example, you already define a function with 2 arguments, and now you need to add additional one. Now you can define these additional arguments as optional, and with that, it has the advantage that the existing stories and do need to actually to be adjusted because it's an optional argument. So it will help you to maintain backward compatibility when new arguments are added, and also help ensure the existing consumer stories remain unaffected and requiring no additional adjustments. So you can see that once you define actually a script function, the arguments can be defined as mandatory, and now we add another option can be defined as the optional. And optional arguments can be reordered among themselves. If a script function is auto-exposed, changes to its optional arguments are automatically synced with the interface function. In addition, these optional arguments are supported in both composite design time and also the story design time. Now let's have a look into this composite and optional arguments. So here I already have a composite definition. Within this composite definition, for example, I have an interface function called field drop-down values. Within field drop-down values, here we can have different 3 arguments. And now you can actually, for example, for the display text, or I can set as an optional argument. Okay, you click on that and click on done. Then you can see that these display texts are currently defined as optional and arguments. And you also can see in these script functions, once this argument are defined as optional, we can have seen that is a question mark behind it. It means this argument is optional. You must not always fill this argument, and you can fill this argument when you call this script function. Okay, now if I, for example, I change back, you can see that, and add that as a mandatory, and arguments, you see actually this display text, this question mark is gone. So with that, you can actually define optional arguments to ensure that the backward compatibility, and also to ensure if you want to add new arguments, the existing story does not need to be adjusted or modified. So that is the capability optional arguments for script function within the components definition and also within the story design time. Thank you. Another enhancement that is we are allowing a user to save as composite and using the composite to replace the original one. So we are allowing overwriting of the composites with the same technical ID. Story already have this capability. Now composite also provides the same capability. With that, we can enable the scenario that customer has created a composite. Then they can actually to save this composite as another name, and with another modified composite, they are able to modify this composite, and then using this modified composite to replace the original one. So with that, the advantage is that under the consuming stories which contain this composite stay actually untouched and can no manual adjustments needs to be needed. The only limitation is that currently, and the original composite is overwritten, then any related stories that use the composite and must be opened and received again. So that you don't need to go to story to change any code, but you need to open the story, save that again. And now let's have a look into how this is working in the tenant. So I have actually here an original composite. And I can first use a save as capabilities to save to, okay, and that should be my modified composite. And here is the description is modified composite. I can save it. So now I'm working actually with this composite to make some modification and also some change. For example, I would like to delete this button. And then I would like to use this modified version actually to replace the original one. So now my original one, I need to just go to original. So I want to use this composite to replace the same technical ID from the original one. Click on the save. And then it will give me a warning, this item already exists, that's correct. Then I want to actually overwrite the original one. So click on the overwrite, and then we have basically under composite is overwritten, and we actually use a modified version to replace the original one. So as I said, the advantage is that you don't need to go to the story to adjust the coding and so on, and you only need to open the stories that consume these composites and also save the story again. Okay, this feature will enable you to do your change management on your composite and also makes the stories that consume this composite and less effort for maintaining that. Thank you. The last new feature for the composite is that we are able to auto-incorporate composite data source in story design time. With QRC1 releases, if you now add the composite into the story design time, the data model which contained within this composite will be automatically appearing under story design time, data, and also show the data model automatically here. That's especially useful if you want to actually now using the replace data model, remove data model capability in the story design time, you can do so. And also in addition, if you want to define some filtering capabilities, and then you can directly basically leverage these data models. You need to manually to add the data sources, you need to click the add new data and manually add the data model into this story design time. With QRC1 releases, the data model will be automatically added here. So that's the new feature with the QRC1 release. And now I would like to show you how it works. So let's have a look into our actually tenant. I would like to actually create a story, for example, and go to a canvas. And now would like to just import the composite what we just before defined. This one, my original. And now if you add into the composite, into the story design time, you will be able to see that models have been exposed into the story. You will get these actual messages. The model automatically exposed into the story. Now you will be able to see this model on the tools here. You can see that. Click on that. And then this data model is automatically already added to here. Now you can replace and also, for example, remove. Now, if you would like to define any under filtering capabilities, you can also directly leverage this data model information instead of manually add it. It was before when QRC1 release, and now with QRC1 release, the model of the composite will be automatically added into the story design time, appearing here, and when you add the composite into the story. Thank you. Other capability for composite is that we are able to reuse the chart colors and patterns from the composite into the stories. So in some use cases, a customer wish to reuse the colors and the patterns that are defined in the composite in the story again. Now with this QRC1 release, that is possible. Now let's have a look into how actually looked into the in the tenant. So now I already have actually here a composite defined. Within this composite, you can see that I defined the gross margin and the quantity sold and show as layered bars and also with this kind of pattern and the colors. And that is the definition within the composite. Now I'm adding actually this composite into the stories. And then you see what I defined in the composite is the color and the patterns can be kept when I actually add the composite into the story. That is especially useful if the customers wish to keep their composite color and patterns should be kept, should be reused within the story. Thank you.
Hi, I would like to introduce several custom widget enhancements for Project Fresh. So the first one is that thin change notification. It means that whenever the SSS story theme have been changed, there should be a way to notify the custom widget about this change. So let's go to the source code directory. So here on the custom after update, let's set a breakpoint. Now we select a different theme, which should be notified a theme change event. So in the change property, the theme ID, theme info have been newly added so that the custom widget developer can understand that there's a theme change. Now let's switch to another theme. So this should trigger another theme, a custom widget pop-up update. So this is the first one, theme change notification. The second one is to rename the accounts and dimensions. So this is available in the standard chart table, but it is the first time we introduce into the custom widget. So we have changed the accounts. And what's more, after change, we can save it and also need to integrate with the translation framework. Means that the newly added name should be able to be changed. So this is new string, which can be translated. And the third enhancement is a group dimension. And previously, that the customer widget cannot support the dimension grouping. It means that all the links in the dimension is a flat list. For instance, the date is displayed all the quarter, date, all in the flat list. It is quite long list. It's hard to management. So this is the third enhancement. And the next one is a filter members. It also that it was not possible in the custom widget is that filter the member directly on the dimension. So right now the user can click the icons next to the dimension, can do the filtering directory. That's all. It's a fourth enhancement we have made on custom widget for Project Fresh. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Pranav and I am a product manager in SAP BDC. I'll be talking about comment management feature delivered in QRC1 2026. In SAP Analytics Cloud, we have delivered comment management feature which will be used for all admin related workflow. We have special privileges based on which the comment management and list of model would be available to user. Via comment management, user can perform view, comment statistic at model and version, do a bulk delete and copy of a comment, and more feature would be added in future. Let's go through the demo. The comment management would be listed in the left-hand side panel, and once a user click on this comment management, the dashboard would be listed. Here you can see all the model which has a comment, and apart from that you can see the different comment statistic. We have an option to select the column which you are interested into it, and we also have an option to do a sort on different columns within that dashboard. You can perform a search operation for a particular model in which you are interested, and then you can work on those models. Here you can see the comment statistic are listed and the version, the number of version that is listed. If you click on that version, this panel would open where you can see all the list of version and the number of comments and other statistic over there. We can perform a bulk delete of a comment at a version level. So I can go ahead and perform a delete. Once the delete is completed, I'll be notified about the deletion. Here I can see the deletion is done. If you go to that version, you will see now the number of data point comment is 0. You can perform same delete operation at a model level, so you can go ahead and delete all the data point comment, dimension comment, or all the comment at a model level like the way we did it. And we also have an option to do a copy comment. So here you can do a copy of a comment, and I can select the from which to which version I want to copy. So right now it is a full version copy that is available, and I'll be doing a copy of a comment from Q1 to Q2. So now I'm going to perform a copy of a comment from Q1 to Q2, and once the copy is done, again I'll be notified. This notification would also be available in the notification center. So okay, now the copy is performed. We can see okay, the number of comment is copied and it is the same as that of Q1. So this is where all admin related workflow would be done. We will be working on additional feature in comment management in near future. Thank you for watching.
Thanks for watching. Hopefully our demos have helped you leverage the latest features in SAP Analytics Cloud in your organization. Remember to leave a like on this video and subscribe to our YouTube channel to stay up to date with all things Analytics Cloud. So stay tuned and we'll see you next time.